Welcome to The Grind. Before we get this episode started, if you could please take a minute to share us on whatever platform you're watching or listening on, we would greatly appreciate it. A share on Facebook, a retweet on Twitter, and a subscribe on YouTube would go a long way in extending our reach and engaging more App State wrestling fans. Thank you for your time. Here's your host, Dominic Parisi.
Thank you, JB, and welcome everybody. We are back with some Beyond the Mat episodes. It's been a while since we've done one, but we've got a very special App alum for you tonight, and let me tell you a little bit about his career. So he wrestled from App from 2009 to 2012. Before App, he wrestled at Magna Vista High School located in Virginia. He was a four-time All-State performer, three-time All-American, two-time state champion, two-time regional champion, and four-time district champion. Finished his high school career with 137 wins with 2 undefeated seasons. While at App State his freshman year, he started right out of the gate and was one of 3 Mountaineers to wrestle in the NCAA tournament that year. He became the first ASU wrestler to win a 125-pound conference championship since Rich Casey in 2003. He defeated the top 2 seeds in the tournament by overtime in the semis and by going out in style with a pin in the SoCon finals, earning him an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. His sophomore year, he had a 13-20 overall record, posted a 3-2 record up in Pennsylvania at the Keystone Classic. He was second on the team in major decisions with 6 and Tech Falls with 2. His junior year, last year, wrestling as a Mountaineer, he won another Southern Conference tournament title at the 125-pound weight class. He led the team with 11 pins, including 2 under 60 seconds. His 55 dual meet points were third most on the team. He captured a 5th place finish at the Keystone Classic and was an NCAA qualifier for the second time in his career. Currently, he is a UFC bantamweight fighter training to be one of the top contenders in the world. He won a tough fight in the Dana White Contender Series that ended up getting him a contract to fight in the UFC. Before getting signed by the UFC, he held titles in King of the Cage, CES, and PA Cage Fight. Welcome to Beyond the Mat with Tony Gravely. Tony, thanks for taking time out of your busy training schedule to be with us tonight, man. How you doing?
No problem. Happy to be here. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, man. Yes, it has. So let's jump right into it, man. Let's learn some stuff about you. Not a whole lot of people know, and let's learn about how you got started in the sport of wrestling.
So wrestling, and I guess kind of how I started was my dad taught Taekwondo ever since I was born. And, I did that for a while. I remember for some reason, he would start letting us kind of grapple in class. And I started to really like that. And then I had a cousin that started wrestling. And I went to a practice with him one time, and then I was hooked. And then at that point, in elementary school, I was in a WWE wrestling. So Kurt Angle, I thought he was super cool with his singlet, Yeah. So that's kind of how I got into real wrestling.
Very cool. So what year did you start? When did you kind of start, getting into the tournaments and going to, the youth tournaments and whatnot in wrestling? Were you young or were you in middle school, high school?
I started in middle school. I think it was 6th grade was when I went to my first wrestling practice. It was maybe towards the summer. We didn't have a middle school program, so I had to wrestle with the high schoolers. So I got beat up for until I was by the time I was in 8th grade, I wrestled with the high schoolers, and I was I probably could have started on the high school team as an 8th grader, but our school didn't let that happen. That wasn't a thing. So I got beat up, leading up to before I was, actually able to be in high school and start the team.
Well, that's getting beaten up in the sport of wrestling like that only helps you out. So Explains why you're a tough wrestler. So then talk us through, quick rundown of your high school career year by year. You had a bunch of good accolades, 137 wins, 2 undefeated seasons, multiple state titles, district titles. So kind of run us down through your high school career.
Yeah, high school. I think my freshman year I got 7th place, and it's weird. It's funny because I hate to say like, oh, I would have got 3rd or like that, but
Right.
In 7th, like when I was I think I had made it to the second day. I'd already lost once. I made the second day, and one of my coaches read the schedule wrong. So we're at the hotel, and he's like, they're calling. They're like, oh, you got to get here. Like they called your name like 3-4 times. So
oh my god,
I missed like the match. I had to forfeit, so I immediately had to wrestle for 7th place because we read the schedule wrong. And I hate to say like, oh yeah, I would have beat this guy, but I ended up getting 7th place because we didn't make it there in time. Which
that's a pretty good excuse right there. I mean,
yeah, it sucked. I was upset. My parents were upset, but I mean it was an honest mistake. So my sophomore year, I won my first state title. That was like one of the most memorable sports moments that like you think about like when you compete and you're chasing this feeling of like what that first one felt like. And that was like the first time that I understood that all of the work that you put in is for, it will pay off. As a kid, you do this and you do that.
Yep.
And you hear like, oh, it'll pay off, and you don't know when. And that was the first time I actually like put my mind to something, dedicated to something, and won like a state title. And then the second year I did the same thing. Those 2 years were undefeated seasons. In my senior year, I actually lost in the finals to a kid that I'd already beat before. So that sucked, but it kind of helped leading into college. Like that hunger, that like wanting to like erase that bad taste kind of helped a little bit, going into college.
Yeah. Awesome. So then how about the junior senior year, wrapping up your high school career? Give us a quick run through on junior and senior year.
So junior, senior year, that's like one of those times where I'm sure you know how it goes. It's like in high school, you finally get to where you're like the dominant guy,
Yeah.
And it feels good to be like, you go to a tournament and it's like, I don't care who's in the bracket, like I'm going to win this tournament.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how, that's how it is leading up to in your junior and senior year. You get more mature, you start to get, I never got really big. So like, but I started to get, a little more muscle on me, build a little more athleticism. And, I finally got to where I was kind of one of the top guys, and it felt good.
So then, all right, so now high school's over with. You're not at App yet. Why'd you come to App? What was that process like? What were your first thoughts of the place? Give us some insight on why you chose App State.
I actually had never heard of App State until my senior year. I think Bentley saw me wrestle at, I guess, senior nationals. And he was like, would you like to, come on a recruiting trip? And I was like, yeah. And I was kind of looking at between like NC State. I went on a recruiting trip to NC State. I was supposed to go to like UNC, maybe UNCG. I don't remember. But I went to NC State first. Then I went to App. And I was like, this place is awesome. Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like, it's Division I. It's not far from like where I live, where my hometown in Martinsville, Virginia. It's like 2.5 hours away. I was like, this is perfect, So, that's all I needed. I called all the other places I was supposed to visit. I was like, I'm sorry, but, I found, I found a school that I want to attend, and that's kind of how I went from there.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I remember when I first came to App, my trip, my first time in Boone was a foggy, rainy day. I didn't get to see none of the mountains, but for some reason still love the place. So glad you got to see the beauty of campus before you arrived. Okay, so you're here on campus, freshman year. I mean, start right out of the gate. You go from high school wrestling to Division I college wrestling. You win the Southern Conference Championships at 125 pounds. You go to the NCAA tournament. Talk us through that first year. I mean, that's a killer first year for a true freshman right out of high school.
Yeah, the first year was like, it's almost like you like watch something on TV and you get to the like honestly getting to the NCAA tournament. It wasn't like I didn't have the mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna place. It was like, man, this is a cool experience. It's kind of almost like starstruck in a way.
Yeah.
Because like these wrestlers that you look up to, maybe that I watched last year compete. It's like, oh, that's such and such, and maybe they're their senior year or whatever. You're like walking around like, oh, there's such and such. It's kind of like wasn't in the right mental state to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna place at this tournament. It was just kind of enjoying the ride type thing, which isn't really like the right mindset to be in. But I'm still a kid. I'm 18 years old. So but it was cool. And what I remember, I think I got probably the best first round draw. I pulled a kid from Liberty that I already beat like once or twice before. So it was like the perfect first round draw. Second round, I got Anthony Robles. And if you know who Anthony Robles is, but he's massive. He has one leg, a massive upper body. It was like I was wrestling a grown man, like. I mean, he was a man. He's a man. He's probably like 20-something, 22 or so, 23. I'm 18 years old. Yep. And he tilted me up. I couldn't get my hands back. It was the most helpless I've ever felt in the match. I was like, I couldn't do anything, and I was so frustrated. And it was like, I don't know, man. It's just a crazy feeling. And then I think after that, I pulled another. Maybe a return All-American or something, and I think he pinned me or something, But it like was one of those things where it sucked, but it was like after it was over, it was like, man, it's still a cool experience, Yeah. I'm here, which isn't, like I said, isn't really the right attitude to have, but
Yeah, but hey, first year right out of the gate, out of high school. I mean, heck of a first year. And for those that are tuning in, we're talking with Tony here on The Grind. Feel free to share the video on whatever platforms you're watching. Get more viewers. Feel free to leave some comments as well, and we'll interact with you as you interact with us. But we'll move on here to our next question. So describe your wrestling style. Give us some. A breakdown of your wrestling style.
Man, my wrestling style in college.
I know it's changed probably. Give us the whole spectrum.
To be honest, man, my college career wasn't the best. It was pretty inconsistent. It was ups and downs, which like anybody's career. But just when I look back, I think about how I was still a kid, kind of immature. Didn't really understand that, even on your bad days, you got to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Get the job done, So there were days where I wrestled really well. There were days where I wrestled really bad, my wrestling style, at a certain point was kind of like kill or be killed. It was like, I'm going to pin you, you're going to pin me, which is pretty like not really a good way to be. You want to be consistent, but, I liked wrestling on top. I liked pins. I guess I was more of a pinner. Overall, as far as my style, if I could do what I wanted to do, I was probably cradling somebody and pinning them.
Yeah. I mean, heck, how many pins did you have your last year? You had what, 6 or 7 pins? So yeah, you were pinning.
I think it might have been like 11 or something like that. I think it was double digits, I think.
Well, you and Sava always making pins out left and right.
We always talk about Sava. He was like one of the most unorthodox wrestlers. He would be on the bottom, start rolling, and I saw him sit on a dude's chest a couple of times and pin him. He would just sit on their chest and boop, like it was crazy. Like he would just get to rolling, like, and realistically, especially like college, you just stand up and get away. There's no reversals, and someone might reach back, Granby reach back and be sitting on somebody's chest with their leg out and then pin him, and he would find a way to make it work.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he would. He brought that up when he was on here a little bit ago before season started, but yeah, that's funny, man. All right, so we'll move on here. Injuries. Did you have any injuries while you were in college? And if so, talk about them and process of getting through them.
No, I never really had any. There was one year I kind of like took my ankle, and it was actually like right before conference and like during conference. Um, Maybe I think it was like my sophomore year, but nothing like serious. I don't think it was like I broke anything. It was probably like I sprained my ankle or something, you know. But I
Yeah.
was pretty fortunate. Like I never got injured or anything like that. I mean, minor things, people tweak things, but
Yeah.
I've been fortunate. Nothing, and still to this day, nothing serious. You know, any injuries. So
Good.
yeah.
Goodness. Yeah, I'll find all the wood in the house,
Knock
right?
on everything. I can't afford to get hurt now because if I get hurt, I can't fight. Then I'm not making money, and you know.
Yeah. So then we'll jump into your junior year. Last year as a Mountaineer, you win the conference again. You go to the NCAAs. I think that was a pretty awesome NCAA tournament for App State. So give us a rundown of your last year and talk us through that.
That last year, it was honestly like I didn't wrestle my senior year, and just gotten to the point where you know how college wrestling is. It's like if you're not all in, it's one of those things where it's hard to just go through. You know, you can't just go through the motions. And honestly, I almost didn't finish my junior year. I was at this point where I was like, man, I don't know. You know, I don't know if I want to complete the season. And I thought about it, and I talked to my mom, and she was like, no, you should finish it. And on top of that, like I feel like I owed it to my buddies that were seniors, like Austin and Chip
Yeah.
and Carter
Yeah.
and Kyle and every Sava and all those guys that were seniors. I felt like I owed it to them. So I think I remember one specific match where I was finally like, it was one of the ones where I was feeling good. It was a kid from Citadel, and I think he had like beat me the prior season. I remember telling Weston, I was like, man, I'm pinning this dude today. Like we were warming up right before. I was like, I feel really good. I'm not losing this dude. It's like I don't usually lose to the same person twice. Like I'm gonna beat this dude today.
Heck yeah.
And it was right. It was rest of the Citadel. I think either both after heavyweight. I don't remember what happened, but we were down, and either the 125 and 133 both had to win, or somebody had to get a pin. So I went out there, shot outside single, cradle the guy, pinned him in like 50 seconds, and that was like a super cool moment. It was like I finally was like had it together, was able to like help the team out, and it felt
Yeah.
really good to do that. That moment was probably one of the higher moments on top of winning conference, and then going to the NCAA tournament was probably one of the most memorable moments. Not even because of me, but because of just watching Austin and Kyle like do what they did. Like it was super crazy. I remember Kyle lost his very first match. I remember in the van going back to the hotel. He was like, you know what, man, I just hope I don't go 0-2 my senior year. Like that was his mind. That was what he said. And then he won one match after another. Like, I mean, and he beat like this row of return All-Americans, guys that were ranked high, just won
Yeah.
all the way back to the third and fourth, and then lost to a future Olympian, who actually, I think he took third in the Olympics. But he beat Kyle. And then watching Austin, I think Austin was seeded like 9. He beat like the number 1 seed from Wyoming, and then maybe like I don't know who else. I know he lost in semis to the guy that I think he might have won it, but he lost like in overtime or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But just watching those two and then Austin taking third, like that was the most memorable moment I can think of. If I think of like college career and what I think the coolest moments were, it's that moment, not anything I did, but like that. So like the fact that I made it to NCAAs was cool, but the fact that I made it that year and got to see that and witness that like firsthand was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, I was there up in the nosebleeds watching, and I mean, I was just wearing an App State wrestling shirt, right? And then after Friday, we're just, I'm walking around the street with my father going to find some food. I mean, it was insane the amount of comments people were making because of what Trot and Blevins were doing that year. So yeah, man, couldn't have said it any better. That was honestly, even for me, one of the most memorable experiences, and I wasn't even competing in that tournament, but.
I guess that's kind of like like all the time we would hear about the time when App beat Michigan. Like, so this was like that moment in wrestling. Now everybody kind of knew who like App Wrestling was. Like, you see the shirt, but oh yeah, you had the guy that beat the number one seed yesterday. Like that.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yep. Okay, so let's we'll transition here. You just answered about two other questions there: most memorable individual match and most memorable tournament. So we'll skip those. Do you have a most memorable duel? Does a duel stand out to you? Hard fought team win.
I think the hard fought team win would be when we beat Chattanooga at Chattanooga I guess that was for the conference title. Even though I didn't show up that day and I didn't do my part, it was cool the way everybody else did their part. I think one of like the biggest things that happened, I think Sava beat, his name was like, it was another dude that looked just like Sava. They looked like they could be brothers, and they always wrestled each other. And I'm pretty sure Sava took him down in overtime, and that guy and he ended up pinning the guy in overtime, I think. And that was obviously huge.
I think
I don't remember the score was like. Do what?
I think he did one of those things where he just sat on the guy.
He probably did. He probably did. And then we ended up winning, I think, by like 2 points. It was like 19-17 or something like that. And that was probably the most hard fought team win that I can remember. I think. No, I remember my sophomore year, we wrestled UNC. This was another really good duel that I almost forgot about. We wrestled UNC, and it was at UNC, and we won. We won by criteria. The score was it was tied. And I think it went down. Our heavyweight went into. His name was what's it? Mark Tyson. Mark Tyson.
Yeah.
We used to call him 50 Tyson. Yeah. So I just couldn't remember his first name. I knew it was Tyson. Mark Tyson. And he went into like 3 or 4 overtimes and finally won. The score was tied, and it went down to criteria. And I think it was like pins. And that was one of the few times that I showed up, and I think I had got a pin. I think I might have been the only pin. So I guess technically won by criteria because of the pin, but it was, everybody did their part. And that was probably one of the closest duels I can remember other than Chattanooga.
Yeah.
That was a good duel. Everybody did really well that time. It was at UNC. I remember that one. That was my sophomore year, I think.
Yeah, we were back up at the Heights watching that duel on TV. So I remember that. I remember Tyson's match, and then I think after he won, he I don't know, did something that pissed off the crowd or
Probably,
something. Yeah. That's one thing that I remember. But yeah, that was another good duel. All right, so talk to us a little bit now. So now you're fighting in the UFC. You're a signed UFC contracted fighter. So what's that transition like? From Division I college wrestling to professional fighting. How did that translate? Did it help? Give us some insight on that and how the transition was from wrestling to fighting.
Yeah, so I always wanted to fight. It was something I always wanted to do. Like as a kid, I would watch the UFC with my dad before I even started wrestling. So it was like one of those things where even as I started in Taekwondo when I was in like 6th grade when I started wrestling, and then I always wanted to to start fighting and start training and doing things like that, getting MMA. But got a wrestling scholarship, and then I just never ever really went to an MMA gym. And so now at this point, like I graduated, I have a job. I'm like an adult now, got a job, and I just kind of got to the point where I was like, I really want to fight, and I had to like convince my wife to like let me fight. Obviously somebody, when you think about, I guess it's different for women. I guess when you think about somebody you love like fighting, you just assume they're gonna get beat up, And I'm like, I just let me do it. Like, let me try. Like, just let me have one fight. And I knew I had every intention of like continuing to fight. I won my first fight, and then I just was hooked. I was hooked, and I started fighting. Had like I think 7 amateur fights. In beginning of 2016, I think I was like 2-1 or 3-1 as a pro. I think it was like 2-1 as a pro, and I was. Going into 2016, I was like, I think I just want to quit my job, and I want to train full time. If I can do pretty good, being able to like have to work a full job and only get to work out like 2 hours at night. If I could put all this time that I'm putting in this job to fighting, I'm gonna be so much better, And I talked to my wife, talked to my parents, talked to her parents, and I was at the point where doing what I was doing was like almost like spiritual suicide. I just couldn't like see myself doing that for the rest of my life. You got your whole, I didn't, it's like, it depends on the type of person you are. You can be like, oh, I got my whole life planned out. Or you can be like, man, this is what I got planned out. This isn't fun. Like this is what I got to look forward to. I'm just going to keep being a construction project manager for the rest of my life and, not have the motivation to work out, because at this point there's no need to work out. I'm like gaining weight, and I'm like, I want to work out. You don't have the extra motivation to push when you don't have a goal. Like I can say, oh, I just don't want to be fat, but it's not gonna make me do extra work. So I started fighting, and then beginning of 2016, I quit my job, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it to the UFC. I want to be a professional fighter. This is what I want to do with my life. And the road was like high school. I mean, like college wrestling. It was up and down. But the good thing about college wrestling is I've been there before. I know what it's like to do well, then not do so well, do well, and not do so well. So like, I kind of had that like, I knew what it felt like, and I knew that I could get through it. So, I think it was probably a span of 2016 was when I quit my job, and I got my Contender Series fight end of 2019, I think. So, is that? Let me.
That sounds about right.
That's how it's crazy now, because I base my timeline of life on fights. Like I'm like, all right, I remember fighting this year when it was this year. So yeah, I think it was like 2019. So like, even though that was like seems like a short amount of time, so much happened in between that short amount of time. It seemed like it was so much longer, But in 2019, I got the shot of the Contender Series. At this point, I've had 20 something fights, which on the Contender Series, a lot of people on there they have they're got 8 fights, less than 10 fights, like. So I kind of took the longer route. A lot of times you get those opportunities by, you could be at a bigger gym, you could have a big manager, getting that exposure. That's how you get that exposure. So I kind of did it the hard way. It was, I wasn't from a huge gym. I just was very active. So that's kind of how I got my name with it. Just being super active, having to go in people's hometowns and be the away guy, and they put you against their stud and you win, and now the ball, now the ball's in your court. Now you're the big guy, and then you get new fans and you get new notoriety, and then so that's how I got the opportunity with Contender Series. Had a tough opponent. I won that fight, and I got my UFC contract, and I'm 2 fights in now, going into my 3rd fight with UFC. So looking to make that a steady career.
Heck yeah, man. When's that so that third fight, is that's scheduled?
The third fight is April 17th.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll make sure to keep an eye out for that. And we'll share it on all of our social medias and whatnot from yours directly. So we'll keep an eye out on that and help get the word out, especially to the App alum.
Awesome.
And then before we get to some quick fire questions here, um, tell us one thing about Boone, about the town of Boone. Maybe your favorite place you live, most fun thing to go out and do. Give us a little insight, a little bit outside of the wrestling realm. What'd you enjoy most about the town of Boone?
Boone's got so much like I like it because it's a college campus, but if it wasn't college, if there wasn't a college there, it would just be like nothing, you know. But I like that because where I'm from, Martinsville, Virginia, is like a small town, and
Yeah.
I like the. I'm not really fond of like a lot of people, a lot of traffic, you know. But
Yeah.
it was like that. But even though it was full of college students, it was still that slow pace in a way. It was like the best of both worlds. You can go 30 minutes down the road, and then it's nothing, you know. Like you got like you got different water holes, things like that, like triple falls. I don't remember some of the stuff, but it's a lot of outdoorsy stuff. Beautiful place, and it's so much stuff to do. The summers are like the best, you know.
Heck yeah.
You don't really have the stress of doing classes unless you have summer classes. We'd wrestle for like a couple hours a day wrestle unless you're like with camp. You got like all day, but camps still weren't too bad. You got paid to just kind of hang out, just kind of be there. You help the kids out, but you just kind of there.
You help the kids out, and then you mess with the kids.
Yeah.
Kids would mess back with you, and then they'd always try to challenge you and stuff.
Yeah. It was cool though. I enjoyed it. Like the summers, man. Boone's a great place. I hadn't been back in a long time. Hadn't been back since like maybe 2014, 2015. So from what I understand, it's completely different now. And
dude,
I'm
definitely. I mean, it's pretty wild the changes that are happening and still happening. The amount of construction that's still going on right now is wild. And then even in the wrestling side of things, wait till you see the facilities, the new locker room, the new wrestling room. Your mind's gonna be blown. So next time you're up, definitely let me know, and we'll show you all the facilities, get you some gear and whatnot. But
awesome.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Awesome.
But all right, let's move on here. Some quick fire questions. I'm just gonna ask you some simple questions, and you pick the best answer that fits you.
Okay.
Start to wrap it up here in a little bit. So first question's top, bottom, or neutral?
Top.
Figured. Rather have breakfast or dinner?
I think breakfast. I love breakfast.
Yep.
You got pancakes. You got eggs. I love eggs. So, yeah. Eggs, pancakes. I think those are waffles.
Yeah.
French toast. Forgot about French toast.
Hey man, here's all those carbs, man. Carb it up.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather do Howard's Knob twice back to back, or would you rather do a day of moving mats for camp?
I'd rather move mats because I could have like we would move mats. We would move mats. Well, I would move mats, and like so I'm little, so I can like get away with like, you like put your hand on the mat or put your hand on the mat, act like you're moving, but not really moving it. So
yeah,
and
nobody
I used
calls.
to enjoy riding in the like back of the U-Hauls with the mat.
Yeah.
So like it would suck if it I think about like if it flipped over, that would suck because I'd die. But definitely moving the mats because that wasn't that bad. And then sometimes Bentley would like get us like let us get like Frosties and stuff. He buys Frosties, so like that wasn't that bad, you know.
Oh man, yeah, dude. Nobody called on the 125 pounders. Be like, hey, come help us lift this.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to. I mean, like you would barely put your hand under there. Like, oh yeah, we're helping. But the knob, man. I don't look for that. You run that all the time. It's crazy, man. Like
yeah,
I'm not looking. I wouldn't want to run that again.
Yeah, that's why I throw it in knob back to back twice. Because then you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I got to do that thing twice, but yeah, that's
that
why.
might take me the first time. Might be able to do the first one. I think the best I did was like 19 minutes. So going down and back up and down, that might take another hour the second time. Like that might take a while.
For sure. Oh, that's funny, man. All right, would you rather have Cookout or Bojangles?
Cookout.
Ooh, I had to
I
think
think
on that.
cookout.
All right, here's a good one. I really like this question. Would you rather go through 6 a.m. preseason workouts or 6 a.m. postseason workouts?
Hmm.
So pretty much what we're comparing here is the 6 a.m. lift and run on the track or the 6 a.m. convo workouts and stadium work in convocation.
Man, I still remember having that feeling, that cold air feeling of sprinting around the top of convocation. Like it was cold and the cold air comes through the doors. I still remember like what that feels like in my lungs. But
Yeah.
then it also sucks too to lift and then be like, all right, out on the track. I remember the days when he wouldn't say out on the track, it would be like hitting the lottery. It's like, oh, thank God, like we don't have to go run.
Yeah.
So, man, that's
That
a tough one.
that is a
I would
tough.
say, uh,
Love it. I love it. Just think through it, man.
let's
Think.
see, let's see. I know sometimes I remember one year. Maybe the which one's the lift and run outside? Wait, which was that preseason?
Yeah, yeah. That was 6 a.m. preseasons.
And then postseason.
That was like getting ready for conference. And
Maybe preseason.
yeah,
Maybe preseason.
we'll take preseason. And we just had so Scott Irvin just chimed in and said JMB never bought smoothies in my day. I don't believe it.
He did for us a couple of times. I remember I remember like when we would go like Ashe County on the way back, he would be like, all right, like I don't know whose idea it was. I doubt it was just his. Maybe it was like Austin's or something. But like he stopped a couple of times, I think. It wasn't like every time, but it was like maybe twice that I can remember we like got like a frosty from Wendy's or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I believe it because we stopped one time at a cookout on the way back up from a tournament or a match up 321. So he's got some smoothie purchases in him. Sorry, Scott, you were I guess you were before those days, but
He stopped at Bojangles one time. It was on the way back from I think it was NCAA's my freshman year, maybe. Because it wasn't I don't remember exactly when it was, but he stopped at Bojangles and we all ate, but he even ate Bojangles, which is crazy because he didn't eat stuff like that. And I remember because Austin was all about his chicken skin biscuits,
oh my
and
gosh, I know
and I
you
think
were.
Chip was there too. I think somebody else was there, and he made the biscuit. Like Austin was like, "Oh, you gotta eat this chicken skin biscuit." So Bentley makes a biscuit, or he had like a biscuit left over, puts chicken skin on it. He like acts like he's gonna eat it, and throws it in the trash. And I was like, "What? He threw that biscuit away."
No,
I remember that. That's only where I remember going to Bojangles because I remember him doing that. He made it seem like he had this big build up, like he's like, all right, I'm gonna do it. Threw it in the trash can.
And so, for those that don't know what a chicken skin biscuit, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you take all the crunchy, juicy, greasy skin off your chicken and you put it in your biscuit with hot sauce, and then that's a chicken skin biscuit.
Yep, chicken skin.
My goodness. All right, let's do our last quick fire here. Favorite memory from App Wrestling Camp?
From camp.
Favorite memory. What's the first thing that pops to mind that was like a good experience from camps?
Man, I don't know. It was always a lot of stuff like just like hanging out was cool all the time hanging out, but um let's see. I'm trying to think of the one specific memory. I think it's cool. The meal vouchers were like the greatest thing. You get the meal vouchers. You can like eat anywhere. Well, not anywhere, but all the places that we like to eat were on the meal voucher. So that was super cool.
So I forget if it's been like this for 1 or 2 years, maybe past three. I can't remember anymore either. The meal vouchers don't exist anymore.
No more.
You're eating in the dining hall with the kids and keep supervising the kids.
Oh my God.
Or
so now your workload's even more because you can't even go out on your own and eat.
Exactly.
Dang, man.
Yeah, times are getting tough. But yeah, let's follow it up here with our last question. It's the last question that we ask everybody, and it's what's one thing you hope people will remember you for while wrestling at App?
Like I said, I had my ups and downs in wrestling, and I always remember them. I always remember the downs and the ups because it's helped make me a better person, a better fighter. It's helped make me more humble because I don't ever see anybody differently from winning or losing because I've been at the top, I've been at the bottom, been anywhere in between. So, I hope people can remember me for, the good times and not the bad, and just. I hope my teammates can remember me as like a genuine person, And
yeah.
I would say that I hope that's the case. I've had relationships with all kinds of people, whether they wrestled for a week or they wrestled all through with me. And I guess proof of that would be even when I fought, I've had people that would come to my fights that they were on the team and people may not even know them. They might have been on the team for like a month, didn't like do a whole season, but like they still come to my fights and I still keep in touch with them. So, I hope, all these people can remember me as a genuine person, whether it's, I never, somebody won or lost, I didn't care because I won and I, so didn't make me think any less of anybody if they didn't do well, if they decided that it wasn't for them,
Well, heck yeah, Tony. Well said, man. And like we mentioned earlier, we're gonna be following you throughout your UFC career. Anytime you share a fight coming up, we'll repost it as well. And again, anytime you're in Boone, let us know because we'll show you, everything going on with App State Wrestling and with the university. But where can people find you on social media? Where can we follow you at? What's your hashtags?
So my
your
Instagram, Twitter, and I think my athlete page on Facebook's the same. It's Tony Gravely 135.
Awesome.
So I think it's the same on all three of those.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, Tony, we appreciate you being on. Thanks everybody for tuning in and who watches this in the future days. But follow The Grind, if you haven't already, follow App State Wrestling. They have 7 NCAA Division I qualifiers out in St. Louis right now. That's the most ever in program history. So big things going on with the program. Tony, we can't thank you enough for coming on tonight, man. It was good having you, and I'll give you the last words before we go.
No problem, man. It's awesome to be back on. It's been a while since I talked to you, and it's, cool. It's been a while since I've kind of talk to anybody from like App Wrestling, and so it's kind of cool to kind of like share those memories, because that's kind of helped me in what I do now, like I said. So it's cool. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Definitely, Tony. We'll appreciate you being on, taking time out of your busy fight schedule. But that's all we got tonight. Thanks again for everybody that watched, and take care. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
You too.
This has been a production by Yosef Media.